Born out of the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, Primary Focus Learning Center Online was created to give families and teachers the opportunity and privilege of continuing their studies with certified educators, all from the comfort of their own homes. The urgency in providing all children with quality education, despite the challenges our nation faces currently, is what makes PFLC Online a necessity. Teachers, students, and families are literally dying all because they are choosing to continue education in the classroom despite the health risks. That is an unfair and hazardous choice to be made. As a result, Primary Focus Learning Center Online is the solution. This learning platform was created by two educational professionals, Maya and Candice, who both have a passion for learning and teaching. With over 20 years of classroom teaching experience between the duo, not to mention parents themselves, they each know both sides of the coin very well.
In 2009, I was working as a therapist intern. To earn extra money on the side, I started providing personal tutoring services. That's when I really got a chance to see the disparities in the educational system. The students that I served were behind and not on grade level. Resources were lacking, especially for those students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds and those with special needs. The parents I worked with struggled to keep up with their child's education and still maintain their livelihoods at the same time.
My journey in education was a bit more personal. My daughter was very quiet and she was being left behind in the classroom. The district tried to hold her back several times. However, the number one issue was the communication between myself and the teachers. It wasn't until the end of the school year before I realized that she was failing, and that was during test season. So I decided to become a teacher so I could see what my child really needed to learn. At the same time, help other parents and students that were overlooked and underserved. Immediately entering the educational system, I observed the same disparities as Maya did. Once I became a teacher, I realized that I'm not just load that was placed on the shoulders of teachers, and the number of duties that we were given were just unrealistic. I also noticed that the students who were suspended or had missed a large number of days for whatever reason, there were no procedures put in place for those students to make up those lessons or that work, so they would fall farther behind. Now let's just think about how many students since the pandemic have missed days of school. And if there were no procedures before, we know that there are no procedures now that have really support helping students catch up after missing so many days of instruction. Best way to support that is to get an academic coach with Primary Focus Learning Center. That academic coach can provide you with the support that you need to really know where your child is and how to help your child to continue to grow.
In 2019, Candice and I established an action plan for Primary Focus Learning Center to be administered on-site at a local charter school. There, we plan to implement our after-school pilot program called Holistic Educational Learning Program, or HELP for short. However, when the city shut down due to the pandemic, we had to come up with an alternative plan. So we created an online learning platform, PFLConline.com. Our platform was established for us to not only implement our programs virtually so that students and teachers would be less exposed to the virus, but for them to also continue the path of learning in a safer environment. PFLC Online allows for a safer and more convenient way for closing the educational gap exacerbated by the pandemic.
As the years went on, the duo teamed up to create the first pilot program of Primary Focus Learning Center entitled Holistic Educational Learning Program, or HELP. This pilot program offered school districts after-school holistic tutorial programs. Then the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Schools closed and humans were relegated to their homes. With that being said, the nation is still in the same position as it was at the beginning of 2020. Cases are still surging, and with the onset of the two new variants, it continues to be dangerous to send children to school as well as for teachers to show up for work. In the Houston Independent School District, you will see just how grave the shortage of teachers is in the Houston schools the current school year. The single biggest determining factor in our students having a positive school experience is whether they have access to a great teacher in the classroom. Currently, there are still hundreds of classes that still have no certified teacher in the classroom. Even in Chicago public schools, despite the White House saying that schools are safe, the Chicago Teachers Union voted to go to remote learning due to the virus. This shows that there is also a lack of certified teachers in the classroom providing instruction.
But distance learning has taken a lot of getting used to, and it's raising questions about its effectiveness.
So you can imagine the deficit in terms of the instructional minutes the kids are supposed to be getting is normally 240 per day.
Candace and Maya can both attest to how challenging it is to conduct instruction virtually. Attendance, distractions at home, the lack of hands-on learning, inappropriate use of time in the chat, and students not having required material are some of the many obstacles that they have seen over the past 2 years when it comes to teaching virtually. Dear parents, students, and educators, we are so excited to introduce you to our new virtual academic platform, www.pflconline.com, where learning, support, mentorship, and convenience go hand in hand. During our nation's greatest time of need, we want our online learning platform to connect students, parents, and teachers in an earnest effort to close the educational gap, exacerbated by the pandemic. Via our online learning platform and app, we want to administer our supplemental educational services through several different programs that teachers, parents, and their children can participate in year-round, online or on-site at locations like school districts, charter schools, group homes, and churches.
We are planning for our parents and communities to come together and join us in this educational movement. It is so important because our children are suffering, and parents are suffering too from not knowing how to support digital learning. Over the past 2 years, we have been working with onshore and offshore developers. We've actually gone through about 5 different developers trying to make sure that they're able to do exactly what we wanted to do with original coding. In the meantime, we have been editing, changing things, making sure the functionalities are flowing, and to prepare for our pilot parents and students. What makes our online learning platform so original is the fact that our curriculum is aligned with every academic coach. We test our students first to see where they are in reading, math, science, and writing, and then we take these test scores and create a student academic growth plan. That student academic growth plan is then put on our website, on our online learning platform for academic coaches to pick what child they want to work with and for parents to pick what academic coach they want to work with. They choose what they want to pay between that academic coach, and there is an online learning platform fee that is assessed for the transaction.
Our current challenge to launching this project is being able to raise enough money for finalizing and testing our online learning platform. PFLC Online is not only connecting students with educators, but it's about building relationships with families, supporting them, and giving them the tools that they will need to be academically successful during and after the pandemic. We are doing this campaign because there is a need worldwide. Our programs work, and we are confident that they will thrive online just the same. As parents, we want to keep our children safe, and we want to provide them with a quality education. With PFLC Online, families can have both.
We want to pay educators based on their qualifications, experience, and educational backgrounds. Educators will set their own pay scale, and our platform will take a small fee. We are addressing this challenge by making sure there are line items in the budget specifically for these goals. We can implement them virtually, and parents can get support at home. Shared resources are important. Supporting our communities is vital.